Hello friends, today we are diving into a topic that I think a lot of people love to avoid, but it's been so top of mind for me recently, and that is comparison in your 20s. Specifically, we're going to talk kind of about like life comparison, but also body comparison and body image issues because Lord have mercy, have I been working through that lately. And I want to share the things that I've learned, things that have really helped me, and also just open up like a genuine conversation about this struggle because, like I said, I feel like so many people want to just avoid the idea of comparison and they never want to admit that they're comparing themselves to other people, but it's real, it's normal. So I want to talk about it today, talk about it openly. We're gonna have a little chat and I'm gonna share things that have helped me. If you struggle with this, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, things that have helped you, please comment them down below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to have more conversations like this. And without further ado, let's get on into our chat today. I have struggled with comparison, I think similarly to a lot of other people for as long as I can remember. I knew I was always comparing how smart I was and how attractive I felt I was, my body, really anything. If it could be compared, it was being compared my whole life. I think especially when I hit my 20s, that was when I started to compare myself in a lot of different ways. You know, a lot of people are graduating school and going into these careers, and I was someone who didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I was making a major career pivot. And it's easy to look at everybody around you and just compare. I think there's also a lot of really big things that happen in our 20s, like buying a house, finding your person, maybe buying a car, moving to a new city. And when you're not doing those things, you're not experiencing them in the same way everybody else is, it can feel like you are somehow behind. And that's something I've struggled with a lot, and I know a lot of other people struggle with too. And only recently did I start to actually work through it, and I've learned so much since I've started doing that. One of the really big things that has helped me a ton in terms of dealing with my comparison is one, naming it, actually speaking it out loud and saying like, I'm struggling with comparison. I'm struggling with body image issues. I'm struggling with comparing myself to others, because I think we try to beat around the bush a lot and not be honest with ourselves about it. But when we are, we can actually get to the root of it. And the other thing that has helped me so much is actually understanding neuroscience, which sounds so crazy and complex, but I promise you it is not. I started learning about the conscious and subconscious brain, okay? Now work with me here, right? Your conscious brain makes up 5% of your total brain. And that is where you're able to say things like, I know I'm worthy. I know that I'm beautiful. I know that I'm unique in my own way, right? All those things we know we should be believing about ourselves, right? That's 5%. Your subconscious brain is 95%. And that is where all of your beliefs are stored. These are beliefs that have usually been ingrained in you from ages 0 to 7, and you have other beliefs that are ingrained through repetition. So these are things like, I'm not worthy because because I was bullied my whole life and that made me feel like I was not worthy. Or I've repeated to myself over and over again that I should be further ahead in life, and now I have a belief that I am behind. These beliefs are ingrained in our brain, and they're ingrained in that subconscious section of our brain. And because that subconscious section makes up 95% of our brain, we can say whatever we want consciously. If the belief that's stored in the conscious brain doesn't match what we're consciously saying, it's not going to align, and we're not going to feel that, right? So we can say, I am worthy. But if we have all these beliefs in the back of our head that are proving that we are unworthy, we're not going to actually feel worthy of the things that we want. But understanding the scope of how our brains actually process and store this information has been a game changer, because now I can actually address those subconscious beliefs to change them and make sure that I consciously know that I am enough and that I don't have to compare myself in order to feel worthy. One of the ways you can access that subconscious part of your brain, and what I've been trying to do, is through repetition. So if you've ever heard anyone talk about affirmations, for example, I used to be like, affirmations are so cheesy. I'm not doing that. Nope. It really made me just want to gag. The idea of saying to myself, I am beautiful, I am worthy. It sounds awful. But the reality is, which is really cool, right? Your brain doesn't understand the difference between what's positive and negative when it comes to storing subconscious beliefs. Your brain just says, why would I say anything that's not meaningful? Why would I say anything that isn't important? And if I'm saying it over and over again, it must be super important. So the same goes for positive thoughts. If you are repeating to yourself those affirmations of, I am enough, I am beautiful, my body is perfect the way that it is, over and over again, you're going to be able to start rewiring those subconscious beliefs, which is huge. That's the whole way to actually change what you consciously feel about how you compare yourself to other people. Or if you're like, I am in a spot in my life where I am happy, I am on track, I am on time, I am not behind. My life is my life, and it doesn't need to be on the same timeline as everyone else's. If you're repeating that back to yourself, or maybe if you struggle with body image issues like I do, and you're like, my body is enough as it is, repeating those things over and over will make it so that your subconscious brain deems those to be important and holds onto those beliefs. That allows you then to feel it consciously. One thing I've started doing to try to rewire some of that is every single night before I go to bed, I journal. And what I've started doing is I write down a list of things I'm grateful for that day. It can be anything. For example, recently I've been super grateful for the way the sun feels on my skin and the way a breeze feels on my skin when I'm going for a walk. I've been super grateful for good coffee and a cozy bed. We've had a lot of rain here lately, and I'm really grateful to have a roof over my head that keeps me dry. Whatever it is, write down what you're grateful for, because as you do that, you're starting to tell your brain, these things are things that are important to me. And so when you're going about your day, you're going to notice those more often. So I have found that by practicing gratitude, I actually notice things that I'm grateful for way before I notice anything that is bad, right? It was raining cats and dogs. I could barely see out of my car when I was driving. And I was like, wow, I am just so thankful that I have working windshield wipers and that I am in my car and I am dry. I am so grateful that I do not have to get out of my car right now. I can wait until the rain passes and then go into the store. I immediately thought of those things. So what I've started doing with my body, and that my therapist has been telling me to do, is redefine the truths about my body. So I listed out words about my body that I believe and what I think, and it doesn't have to all be, positive. You can list out those negative ones, but you want to focus on rewiring the positive things. So I would say, I love my green eyes. I love, how my eyes light up when I'm excited about something. I love the way my nose scrunches up when I laugh really hard and I get excited. Force yourself to pay close attention to the things that you do like about your appearance. And I swear it has made the biggest difference for me. When I look in the mirror now, I notice immediately the things I like instead of the things I don't like. Another little neuroscience thing that is so interesting to me that really helps rewire these beliefs, right? I want you to look around your space right now, wherever you are, whether you are in your room, in the living room, whether you're outside, whatever it is, look around your space. And I want you to, as quickly as possible, identify as many things in the room that are black. Okay, look around your room. Now I want you to try to repeat back to yourself, without looking around your room, how many things in your space are white. You probably can't actually identify everything that is white because you were just looking around paying attention to what is black, right? The neuroscience behind this and the root of this is that when we are looking around any space, there are billions of little bits of information around us that our brains cannot possibly process all of that information at once. I think it's around like 100 units of I don't know what the units are, megabits per second or something crazy like that. I don't know. But we can only process around 100. And we are taking in billions, right? So your brain is going to notice and process the things that you have deemed to be important to it. Things that you didn't deem important, your brain isn't going to pay attention to, right? When you're going about your regular day, you're maybe in the grocery store, or maybe you're looking at your bank account. If your brain is trained to look at the negative things, to look where scarcity is, to look at the things you're going to compare against yourself, that's what your brain's going to notice first because you've deemed it to be important in your subconscious beliefs. One thing that has also really helped me in my fear of other people judging me, right? Because this aspect of comparison, as much as I compare myself to other people, one of my fears was, are they going to compare me to them in a bad way, right? Are they going to look at me and be like, she's so behind? Or are they going to look at my body and be like, ugh, that's so gross, right? Because they're comparing my body to their idealized version or their expectations. And I would have this fear, right? But then I realized, thinking about the way our brain takes in information, right? If I'm in a crowd of people, okay, at an event, and I'm in a bathing suit, right? Let's say it's a pool party. I'm fearing, oh my gosh, is everyone looking at my body and critiquing it? But then you have to realize their brain cannot possibly process all the information it's seeing. It can't possibly process every single person at this pool party. It's going to take in, again, those 100 units of information and process. What are the odds that my arms that I'm insecure about are part of the information that they process? Are they going to really notice my skin texture? Are they going to notice maybe, where my hair is thinning a little bit? Or are they going to notice that pimple on my chin that I think everyone is paying attention to? No. The reality is they're not. And if they are paying attention to that, it's because their brain has deemed that information to be important to them. And the only way that's going to happen is if it's something that they are also struggling with. When people use you as a point of comparison, right, to say, oh, this person is so far behind me, or, they judge where you're at in life, or they judge your body, it's because their brain has deemed that to be important because they're struggling with the same thing. It's not your burden to carry their beliefs about themselves. It's not your burden to carry their insecurities, and it is not your burden to carry their beliefs or their judgment about other people. I've been an absolute book nerd this year. I've been loving reading, and so I was on the hunt for a good book about this topic, and I want to make the recommendation to you guys because I actually really liked this book. It is called Beyond Beautiful. I will link it down below in the description box, but it is such a good book, and it really goes deep into how we, especially as women, formulate our beliefs about ourselves. So it's going to talk about social media and news and, celebrities and body image in that way, but it also dives deep into just like how we create the beliefs about ourselves, including those subconscious beliefs and how they're formed, which for me was really helpful. There are journal questions as well in the book, which honestly, I usually find journal questions in books to be super cheesy, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. But I actually did the journal questions in that book that I read, and I thought they were really helpful, surprisingly. It isn't necessarily going to address the comparison in other aspects of our 20s, but I do think that a lot of the same kind of topics and techniques can be applied, right? Like, it will ask you to think about your subconscious beliefs about your body and where they come from, and I think you can do the same thing with other aspects of your 20s, right? Like if you feel like you're behind in your career, you can think, okay, what is my subconscious belief about my stance in my career? Where did it come from? What's the root, and how can I start to rewire that? So as much as it is about one topic, I think if you're struggling with comparison in general, but especially body image comparison, I would definitely read that book. I want to end off this video by saying that I think comparison is something that so many people struggle with, and I don't think it's something that we have to hide. I think it's okay to talk about it openly. I have a friend who always says, how beautiful is it to have the opportunity to heal? And that is something that I have thought about so much throughout this entire process, because it really is a beautiful opportunity to heal and to acknowledge where you are struggling and to work on that. Again, there are so many people who don't even address these things until they are so far along in their life. And they've spent 60 years of their life comparing themselves to people and feeling like they fall short. And that's not what I want for me. It's not what I want for you. And so I think if you can take the time to pause and address where you're struggling with comparison now in your 20s, your life will be so different and it will be so much better just for doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed this honest conversation about comparison and body image and what has helped me. I would love to hear some of your experiences in the comments and to kind of help each other a little bit more through our journeys. As always, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.